Now to what could be one of the most consequential Supreme Court decisions on gun rights in almost 15 years.
Yeah, today the country's highest court will hear a case that could determine whether the Constitution guarantees the right for New Yorkers to carry firearms in public.
Here to break down what's at stake is NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalos. Danny, good morning to you. So this all centers around an NRA challenge to a century-old New York State law. So tell us, what does that law say and what impact could the decision in this case have nationwide?
This is about the Second Amendment, of course, and issuing concealed carry permits. And the majority of states have what are called shall issue systems, where as long as you can show the prerequisites, the license shall issue. But a minority of states, however, the most populous states, I should add, have what is called a proper cause system. In other words, once you satisfy the requirements, you also have to show proper cause, a reason for wanting a concealed carry permit. And that reason, of course, challengers argue, is subject to discretion. And anytime you have local government discretion that is unreviewable, you have a system of abuse. And that infringes, say the challengers, on a fundamental constitutional right, the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. But the problem is, unlike other rights and other kinds of laws, the Second Amendment has barely been touched by the Supreme Court in the last 20 years.
Yeah, so, Danny, that's exactly what I want to ask you about. I mean, they've been reluctant to take up cases involving gun rights. Why are they taking up this one?
Because this one, they may not even have to address the fundamental issue of the Second Amendment itself. Instead, really what they're going to be looking at, I predict, is the standard of review for cases like this. In fact, don't be surprised if the Supreme Court kicks this back down to the lower court with an order or a directive to use a particular standard of review. And standards of review, they're not sexy, they're not exciting, they can be a little boring. But the bottom line is this. The question is, does the Supreme Court take a state law like New York's and essentially rubber stamp it, saying, hey, New York, you're allowed to choose to do what you want with firearms? Or instead, do they apply what's called a heightened scrutiny? Do they say, well, because the Second Amendment is so sacrosanct, as we do with other constitutional rights, we apply strict scrutiny. And when you do that, almost always the state court, their state law gets struck down.
So with a 6-3 conservative majority on the court, do we have any reason to think this ruling could play out along ideological lines?
Not so fast, my friend, because even among the Republican bloc, the conservative majority on the Supreme Court, there is dissension within the ranks. Consider Amy Coney Barrett, for example. She wrote in a recent dissent when she was on the Seventh Circuit that gun rights like this should be that felon disenfranchisement laws, if you're convicted of a felony, you can't own a firearm. That seems to be pretty universal. She argued that, wait a minute, we shouldn't have felon disenfranchisement for all felons, only people who are dangerous. So that right there reflects a rather unique view of gun ownership among the conservative bloc. So really, it's anyone's call how the Supreme Court will handle it.
All right, Danny Savalos, as always, thanks so much.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.